The Galactic Council chamber was filled with bright lights, soft music, forced smiles. Today was supposed to be historic. Ambassador Lee Tyrone of Earth walked slowly across the red carpet. His black suit shined under the glass dome above. Behind him, the Earth delegation followed in silence, dressed in matching uniforms with a single white symbol piece. The hall was massive. Aliens from over 100 species sat in curved rows. Some were tall, with glowing skin, others small and furry. A few looked like walking crystals. All watched the human ambassador closely. A floating drone broadcasted the ceremony across the galaxy. Billions were watching. Today was the day Earth officially joined the Galactic Peace Council. Torrin smiled politely as he reached the central platform. Across from him stood the council chairwoman Azoric, named Viral. She was thin and sharp-looking, like a living blade, her eyes dark and unreadable. "Ambassador Torrin," she said through the translator, her voice flat. "We welcome Earth. May peace guide your path." Chairwoman Viral, Torrin replied, bowing slightly. "Earth is honored. May peace be our future." The council stood and clapped with their strange hands, claws, or tentacles. The peace treaty hovered between them, a glowing white hologram. All that was left was for both leaders to press their seals. But something felt wrong. Torrin hesitated. He had learned to trust his instincts, especially during Earth's wars. Now something about the chairwoman's eyes made his stomach twist. She wasn't smiling, not even faking it. Still, he stepped forward. This was history. As he lifted his hand toward the treaty, of flash, a hiss, and then blood. A long, thin blade shot out from Viral's arm and stabbed straight through Ambassador Torrin's chest. Gasps filled the chamber. The music stopped. The glowing lights flickered. Torrin looked down, confused. Blood spilled on the red carpet, turning it darker. He tried to speak, but no sound came. He fell to his knees, his eyes wide. Then he collapsed. The human delegation froze. No one moved.
Ow.
No screams. No cries. Just silence. Viral pulled back her blade and stood tall. "Earth does not belong among us," she said coldly. This was a mistake. The crowd was stunned. Some aliens shouted, others backed away. Cameras kept rolling. Billions across the galaxy saw the betrayal live. The humans did nothing. One of them, Commander Ellen Reyes, slowly stepped forward. She knelt beside Torrin and checked his pulse. Then she stood up, face calm, eyes cold. She looked at Viral, but said nothing. Instead, she turned to her team. "Leave the body," she said quietly. "We're done here." The Earth delegation walked out without another word, their faces emotionless. No anger, no threats. Just silence. As they exited, the council chamber was still frozen. Some tried to speak, to ask what just happened. But the humans were already gone. Hours later, 3 Earth ships undocked from the station. They moved slowly. No weapons armed, no distress signal. Just a silent departure. They jumped to hyperspace and vanished into the dark. Back in the chamber, Viral stood tall. She smiled now. The humans were never strong enough to lead. She said to the council, "Let this be a warning." Not everyone agreed. In the shadows of the chamber, an old alien named Viakel watched everything. He had lived through the First Contact War long ago, when Earth first met the galaxy. He remembered what humans were capable of, and he remembered something else, a warning written long ago in the old language. If a human ever falls under a white flag, do not wait for their silence to end. Fear the silence itself. Viakel looked toward the empty hallway where the humans had walked out. He whispered to himself, and made a mistake, Viral. A terrible mistake. Somewhere in deep space. Near the edge of the galactic map, an old human station powered back on, silent for decades. Now it hummed with ancient energy. A red screen blinked. Black protocol activated reclaimers online. The humans hadn't screamed. They hadn't fought. They hadn't even shouted, but Earth had heard. And Earth does not forget. 7 days passed. The Galactic Council expected war. They expected Earth to scream, to threaten, to demand blood for blood. But Earth said nothing. Not a single message came from Sol. No broadcast, no protest, not even a funeral notice for Ambassador Tora. Just silence. Some in the council relaxed. They were weaker than we thought, said Chairwoman Viral with a cold smile. See, humans talk big, but when it matters, they run. Others weren't so sure. Admiral Grack of the Thurn watched the sky with worry. He had fought humans once during a forgotten border war. His species barely survived. They're not running, he growled. They're listening. Council dismissed his warning. Meanwhile, strange things began to happen. A small mining outpost near the Velis system sent a distress signal. The message was garbled, just screaming and static. When a patrol ship arrived, the station was empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just gone. A week later, a council transport ship vanished during a routine jump. Its flight path crossed near a human trade lane, but Earth hadn't claimed that route in years. Still, there was no proof. The council blamed pirates, accidents, solar storms, but Admiral Grack wasn't convinced. He ordered a quiet scan of deep space far from known trade zones. What he found made his scales go cold. Black signals, not normal communication. These were bursts of coded frequencies from the void. Long-range scans picked up strange objects moving slowly through uncharted sectors. No identification. No transmissions, no heat signatures, just shadows. Drifting with purpose, Grack sent a warning to the Council. Unknown vessels. Possibly Earth origin. Advanced stealth. I suggest full alert. Viral refused. Earth is finished, she replied. You give them too much credit. But she was wrong, because Earth had not forgotten, and Earth had not forgiven. Far beyond the edge of mapped space, a massive structure hung in the dark. It looked like a ship, but it was too large, too quiet. Didn't glow, didn't hum. It waited inside. Ancient systems blinked to life. Human AI cores activated for the first time in a century. Reclaimer fleet awake target, Council strike. Order confirmed objective. Cleanse and silence. These were not regular human ships. They were old, from the early days. From before Earth joined the stars. Ships built in fear, built for vengeance. Back on Council worlds, news began to leak. Talked in hushed voices, rumors spread of human black fleets, of ghost weapons. Of systems that went dark without a fight. A popular newsfeed aired a secret video. A blurry clip of a human vessel, pitch black, sharp like a blade floating above a burning moon. No sound. No markings, just silent judgment. The Council tried to hide it, tried to laugh it off, but fear had already taken root. One evening, a message arrived at the edge of Council space. It came through an old emergency frequency, one no one had used in years. It was just one sentence. This is not a war. This is a consequence. No name, no location, just the chilling voice of a human male. Chairwoman Viral called it fake, but Admiral Grack knew better. He began evacuating Thurn colonies without permission. He didn't care about Council orders anymore. We killed one diplomat, he told his generals, and in return, we woke up their nightmares. Then it happened. Again, a large defense station in Sector 12 went dark. 20,000 soldiers, gone. No alarms, no battles. Just silence. The station's last recorded image showed a shadow passing over the moon. Then nothing. No one claimed responsibility, but everyone knew. Earth was moving, and Earth wasn't. Sending diplomats this time, in a hidden archive deep inside Council territory. An old AI named Archivist 7 broke its silence. It played a file recorded 112 years ago. After the first human wars, it was a warning from a human general, ever broadcast to the public. Do not break peace with Earth. If you do, if you betray the flag, we will not shout. We will not send warnings. We will vanish. And when we return, you will remember why humans once made the stars burn. The AI sent this file to every council leader. Viro received it while sipping her evening drink. For the first time, her hand shook. Silence from Earth had changed. It wasn't the silence of fear, it was the silence before the thunder. A council patrol fleet was traveling near the border of the Ghost Sector. 5 ships well armed and confident. The captain, an insectoid named Tresk, was bored. "There's nothing out here," he buzzed to his crew. "No signals, no ships. Earth is hiding." But Tresk was wrong. The lead ship's radar picked up something strange. A single object, unmoving, floating in open space. No signal, no heat, just... There the crew zoomed in. It was a ship, black as a shadow, shaped like a dagger. It looked dead, no lights, no movement. But something about it felt wrong. "Send a greeting," Tresk ordered. His comms officer opened a channel and transmitted the universal peace. Signaled no reply. They tried again. Still nothing. Then, one of the younger officers, a lizard-like species named Fen, noticed something on the radar. "Sir," he said, "it's not 1 ship, it's 5. No 10. They're all around us." Tresk's eyes widened. Before he could speak, every screen on the bridge turned black. A voice spoke, not loud, not angry. Just cold. "You stood by when peace was murdered. Now stand still and watch what follows." The message ended, and the black ships moved. They didn't fire missiles. They didn't use lasers. Instead, energy pulses shot out, silent, invisible. Waves that passed through shields like paper. One by one, the patrol ships shut down. Lights out. Engines cold. No explosions. No noise, just silence. From the outside, it looked like nothing happened. But inside the ships, systems died. Life support failed. Crew members gasped, collapsed, drifted in weightlessness. Trey's last thought before darkness took him was a single word: extinction. The patrol never returned. The council said it was a system failure, a navigation error. But the truth was already spreading. An outpost in the Zero's belt picked up ghost signals, coded in ancient human military patterns. These codes had not been seen in 100 years. A nervous technician reported it to his commander, I think. "Earth's war fleet is awake," he whispered. Soon after, trade routes began to close. Merchant ships vanished. Civilian stations went silent. The reclaimer fleet was moving, back on the council's core world. Chairwoman Viro stood before a full emergency meeting. "Fear is the enemy," she said. "We cannot allow old human myths to control our minds. They bluff. That is all." But her speech was interrupted by a secure message from Admiral Grack. His voice came through the chamber's main screen. "I'm in Sector 17. We've confirmed contact. They don't talk. They don't miss. One of their ships is the size of a moon." Gasps filled the room. Grack continued. "They're not coming for talks. They're not looking for surrender. They're doing one thing, only removal." Viral tried to respond. "Admiral, I order you to," but Grack cut her off. "You don't order me anymore. You stabbed a human under the white flag. Now you've doomed us all." The screen went black in a hidden part of the galaxy. Deep inside a black nebula, the reclaimer fleet gathered. They were not built for defense. These ships were not made for showing force. They were made to end wars. Each vessel ran on quantum AI faster than thought. Each weapon system had one goal: eliminate enemy infrastructure. Without harming innocents? Earth did not want to conquer. Earth wanted memory. One reclaimer ship passed by a peaceful colony world. It scanned the surface. No council members, no military bases, just farmers and schools. The ship turned away without firing. Earth remembered mercy, but it also remembered betrayal. In council-controlled space, fear began to rise. Border worlds emptied. Merchants stopped traveling. Armies prepared. Deep down they knew. They were not fighting soldiers. They were facing ghosts of Earth's forgotten past. War machines designed in humanity's darkest hour. Machines never meant to be used until now. In a research station orbiting Council World Trivac, a young historian named Keel studied a sealed file marked Sol Protocol Red. It was thousands of years old. He opened it. Inside was a simple, Message from a long-dead human leader. We gave the stars peace. We gave the stars friendship. If peace is broken with blood, the stars will be washed clean. Keel stared at the words. He had once laughed at human history, called them dramatic, dangerous, primitive. Now, he was not laughing. He looked out the station's window. A shape moved in the dark. A black triangle, silent. Watching then. No blink. It was gone. But Keel had seen enough. He whispered to himself, we killed one man. And we woke up death. Fear was spreading like fire. World after world whispered the same word. Humans, not the diplomats, not the friendly traders, not the explorers who once offered peace. No, these were the other humans. The ones the galaxy had only heard about in old stories. The ones who fought like storms and vanished before anyone could understand how. The council was losing control. Chairwoman. Viral stood in the command chamber, her claws tapping nervously. She stared at the long list of reports floating before her. Disappearances. Abandoned colonies. Ghost signals. The Reclaimer fleet had not attacked any major worlds yet, but its message was clear. Earth was not speaking. Earth was moving, and it moved like death. Silence is their war cry, Admiral Grack had said in a private message. The time you hear their guns, it's already too late. Now, council meetings were full of panic. Leaders shouted over each other. Some demanded immediate war against Earth. Others screamed for surrender. The Zorak representative tried to calm. Them, they're few, she said. We are many. This is just fear. But the fear was real, and it had reason. In Sector 9, a council military base vanished without a single alarm. No explosions, no enemy ships detected. It was simply gone. When scouts arrived days later, they found only black ash and a single human word burned into the ground: balance. The message was not for power, it was for memory. Humanity had not forgotten. On a peaceful council world called Varelis, children looked up and saw something strange in the sky. 3 dark ships passing silently. No lights, no sound. It's just shapes. In the clouds, like shadows over the sun, they didn't fire. They didn't land. They just moved on. But everyone understood the message. Earth was watching in a secret chamber deep under the council capital. An old species called the Avleri met alone. They were ancient and wise. They had warned the council long ago, do not provoke Earth, but no one had listened. Now, the Avlori leader, a calm being named Sorai, stood before his people. We knew this would come, he said. Humanity offered peace. We allowed blood. And now they have remembered who they are. One Avlari priest asked, can they be reasoned with? Sorai shook his head. Not anymore. Their silence is not regit, is judgment. Civilizations across the galaxy began to panic. Planets once proud and wealthy started evacuating. Trade stopped. Warships scrambled to form defense lines. But how do you stop a storm you cannot see? The Reclaimer fleet didn't show up on normal scanners. Their weapons didn't fire like normal guns. Their strategy wasn't conquest. It was erasure. And it was smart. On the planet Halloran Prime, a military parade turned into chaos when every vehicle shut down mid-flight. 1 second celebration. The next, total power failure. No human ships were seen, but the entire city's defense grid never worked again. A message was carved into the sky using precision. Orbital lasers. We don't want your lands. We want your memory. The people looked up in silence. No one spoke. They understood. Back at the council chambers, Chairwoman Viral slammed her fist on the table. This must stop. Earth must be punished. But the room was quiet. No one agreed anymore. Admiral Grack, once loyal to the council, stood and faced her. No, Chairwoman, he said calmly. We already punished Earth. We killed their diplomat. We broke peace. And now we're being answered. Viral pointed at him. Are you surrendering? No, Grack said. I'm surviving. He turned and left the room. That night, 7 more council species announced their withdrawal from the Union. They no longer trusted the council to protect them. One of them said openly, "Earth has not declared war, but we know a cleansing when we see it." In a small bar on the mining world of Raylus, a group of alien miners watched an old recording Earth's first entry into the Galactic Council years ago. The video ambassador Lee Torrance smiled. He said, "We are not perfect, but we offer peace because we know the price of war. We've paid it too many times." One miner stared at the screen, then whispered, "And we made them pay it again." Everyone went quiet. On a lonely moon near Sector 34, a young council pilot stood at her post. She had heard all the stories. The black ships, the silence, the messages, but she didn't believe them until her radar picked something up. No sound, no signal, just a shadow growing on the edge of the sky. Then a voice spoke directly into her, mined through her neural link. "You didn't stop the murder. So now, we stop the memory." She dropped to her knees, shaking. The shadow moved closer, but it didn't attack. It just passed, and that was worse, because it meant it wasn't the end. It was still just the beginning. The galaxy had questions. Why were humans so silent? Why were their ships so advanced? And most importantly, what else were they hiding? Only one being dared to search for the answer. His name was Trenos, a tall, thin scholar from the virile species. Trenos was not a warrior. He wore no armor. He had never held a weapon. But he carried something more dangerous: curiosity. When the council began falling apart, Trenos didn't run. He studied, followed the path of destruction, comparing. Each attack, human ships were not random. They were exact. Someone, he whispered to himself, planned this long ago. Then he found something strange. An old message buried deep in the council's restricted files. File marked Soul Archive, do not open. Most believed it was fake. A ghost record, but Trenos knew better. With stolen access codes, he boarded a private science vessel and set course for Earth's edge. Not Earth itself, but a hidden satellite orbiting a dead planet nearby. Forgotten place once called Outpost Helix-9. It was old, cold, no signals, no lights, but it was human. He docked. Carefully stepped inside with caution. Dust floated in zero gravity. Everything was dark, except for a single flickering console. Trenos placed his hand on the screen. It turned on instantly. The system spoke in a soft, human voice. "Welcome back, Director. Reclaimer access code confirmed." Trenos flinched. "I'm not a director," he said, but the console ignored him. He began to play a file. The screen lit up with images: Earth's, past wars, burned cities, broken planets, whole fleets turned to ash. Humans fighting enemies who outnumbered them. 5-1, and still winning. Trenos watched in horror as one clip showed a small Earth ship being attacked by a dozen alien cruisers. The humans didn't run. They sent one signal, then exploded. In a burst of light that destroyed everything around them. A sacrifice, a lesson, a warning. Another video showed interviews with human generals. One woman said calmly, "We don't like war, but if it comes to our door, we finish it. And we don't. Leave loose ends." Then the final file appeared. The Black Protocol. Trenos leaned closer. A human commander stood in front of a war map. The symbol of the Reclaimer fleet glowed behind him. His voice was cold, tired, powerful. "If Earth is ever attacked under a white flag, peace is broken by blood, we will not send soldiers. We will send memory. Oh, you will not see our anger. You will see your past, and it will end you." Trenos trembled. He understood now. This wasn't new. The Reclaimer fleet was not created after the assassination. It was created long before. Prepared. Stored. Until needed, Earth had planned for betrayal, not because they wanted war, but because they understood the galaxy better than the galaxy understood them. Trenos downloaded the files and sent them across encrypted channels. He had to warn the rest of the council if anyone was still listening, but as he turned to leave, the screen flickered again. One last message blinked in red. "Do not apologize. Do not explain. Only silence is respected now. The air turned cold, somewhere in deep space. Human AI saw his message leave the station. They traced it, studied it, tanned, let it go. Because this time, the galaxy needed to remember when Tranos returned. He was not welcomed. The council had fallen into full panic. Species blamed each other. Some had already surrendered to Earth without asking. Others had gone dark, hiding their fleets in fear. He burst into a council broadcast room, held up the data crystal, and shouted, "This wasn't a war we started last week. This was a test we failed decades ago." The council leaders stared. As he played the files, one by one, they watched Earth's history. Their silence, their rage, their strategy. One elder gasped. "We laughed at their peace. They prepared for our betrayal." Another whispered, "They didn't start this war. We gave it to them." Finally, Chairwoman Viral, the one who gave the silent order to assassinate the diplomat, saw herself in the footage on Proud, dismissing the human peace offer as a weak species pretending to be strong. Now, she said nothing because, what do you say? When the storm you created is already inside your walls? On Earth, far below the surface, the Reclaimer commanders watched Tranos' message spread across the galaxy. One young officer asked, "Should we respond?" The Supreme Admiral shook her head. "No, let the stars speak for us now." Outside, hundreds of black ships moved across the dark. They didn't carry flags, they carried justice, and they were not done yet. The Council was dying once. It ruled over hundreds of species, thousands of planets, and controlled peace in the galaxy now. It met in a half-empty chamber. Whole seats were vacant. Member species had fled, hidden, or declared neutrality. Some had even joined Earth in secret, begging for protection. The air in the chamber was tense. Chairwoman Viral stood at the center table. Her voice was louder than before, but not stronger. "We must act now," she said. "This is our last chance. Cannot let Earth win. We must strike." Her words were met with silence. Admiral Grack rose slowly. His face looked older. "Tired?" "No," he said calmly. "This isn't about winning anymore. This is about surviving." Viro snapped. "You're a coward." Grack looked at her. "I fought humans once. You didn't?" "I saw them turn entire fleets into scrap without anger, without emotion. They do not need hatred to destroy. They only need a reason." He turned to the others. "We gave them that reason." Across the chamber, the Avlari delegates stood and nodded. "We should not have allowed the assassination. It was a mistake, a deadly one." Someone whispered, "Maybe we should apologize." Viral slammed her hand down. "It's too late for that." The room froze. They all knew she was right outside. Reports were flooding in. A new human ship had appeared near the Council's core systems. Bigger than anything seen before, over 8 kilometers long. Its name, Eclipse-class Titan. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. It just hovered in orbit like a final judgment waiting to fall. Panic swept across the city. Evacuation ships filled the skies, but the eclipse didn't stop them. No weapons, no shields, just presence. A reminder, back in the chamber, a final vote was called. Surrender or fight. Many argued, some begged, others cried. But as the vote began, the lights went out, the chamber shook. A deep, rumbling sound echoed through the walls. But it wasn't an explosion, it was something bigger above the planet. The eclipse had finally moved. A massive beam of golden light shot toward the surface butt. It didn't hit the city. It passed harmlessly beside it, and struck the ancient Council defense ring in orbit. In seconds, the ring exploded. Fire and metal rained from the sky like burning stars. Not one person was hurt. The message was clear. Earth could have destroyed them. Chamber lights flickered back on. A hologram appeared in the center of the room. A human tall, calm, wearing a black uniform with no medals. Only one mark, a white broken circle. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply said, "The diplomat's blood was your choice. This silence was ours." No reply. Everyone in the room was frozen. The human nodded once and disappeared. Above the planet, the eclipse turned slowly. It didn't fire again. simply moved past the city over the mountains, over the oceans, then vanished into deep space. Not a single ship tried to stop it, because no one dared. Chairwoman Viru sat in her chair, her hands shaking. "They don't want peace," she whispered. "They want memory." The Avleri delegate leaned forward. "No, they wanted peace. You ended it." She didn't reply, because there was nothing left to say. In the dark corners of the galaxy, rebel groups that once hated humans now sent them messages of respect. Planets that once banned Earth ships now opened their ports in silence, not to trade, but to apologize, and across thousands of systems. The same words were spoken. They never invaded. They simply reminded us what they are. Somewhere deep in the Sol system, inside Earth's Reclaimer command station, Supreme Admiral looked out over a massive map. All Council systems were marked in red. Her second-in-command asked quietly, "What now, ma'am?" She answered without turning. "We told them once, don't break peace with Earth." They laughed. She paused. Now the laughing has stopped. The sky burned over 3 council worlds, but there was no war cry, no declaration, no demand for surrender, only fire. It came from above, precise, silent, unstoppable. Human reclaimer units struck fast and without emotion. Orbital stations collapsed. Like toys, military bunkers melted under heat beams. Entire fleets vanished before they could launch. But they didn't kill civilians, not even once. They shut down weapons. They erased databases, destroyed command towers, communication lines, and war factories. They hid only symbols of power. It wasn't conquest. It was correction. On the council world of Delos Prime, General Kovac stood outside his burning command center. Smoke filled the sky. Fires raged across the horizon, but his people were alive. Not a single civilian had been harmed. Only the military. Only those who had voted for the assassination. He dropped to his knees. "They're not here to conquer us," he whispered. "They're here to shame us." High above, a human stealth ship floated silently. It didn't fire again. It simply broadcast a message across the sky. "We did not start this war. We only remembered how to end one." Then the ship left without a sound across the galaxy. The pattern repeated. Planet after planet, those who had supported Earth's removal and the murder of their diplomat were hit, not with bombs, with removal weapons vanished. Defense grids melted, or records erased. By the time the Council knew which planets were next, it was already done, and at every site. Reclaimers left the same message, carved into metal, stone, or glass. Your future was offered peace. You chose memory. Now you will carry it. Chairwoman Viral was running out of time. Her personal fleet was all that remained of her defense. She hid in a classified bunker deep beneath her homeworld, guarded by the last loyal forces she had. They waited for the human ships to arrive, but they never came. Instead, every screen in her bunker turned on at once. Static cleared. A human face appeared, calm, serious, familiar. Ambassador Li Toren, the diplomat she had ordered to be killed. But this was a pre-recorded message. He looked directly at the camera. He had recorded this before his final mission. Maybe he knew. If you're seeing this, it means you've chosen blood over peace. I came offering unity. You chose a knife. But you must understand something Earth never forgets. And when we return, we don't return to rule. We return to remind. Viral stared at the screen. She had destroyed a man who offered his hand, and now the entire galaxy was watching her lose everything without a single human scream. Only silence. On the burned world of Crixon, a council soldier tried to fight back. He launched a full-scale missile assault against a retreating reclaimer ship. None of the missiles hit. Every single one was intercepted mid or not by countermissiles. But by satellites no one had seen. Before, Earth had placed defense webs long ago, before anyone knew. The missiles turned and flew straight back at the launch site. The soldier was never found. The message was clear. Fire returns to its sender. In the stars above, people watched in fear. But not just fear or respect. Earth hadn't taken a single world. They hadn't asked for land, gold, or slaves. They had taken nothing, except the lie that they were weak. That lie was gone now, burned into. The sky, on a farming moon, a child asked his father, "Why don't the humans speak?" The father, once a soldier, looked up at the stars. "They spoke already," he said, "with silence, with precision, with fire." The child was quiet. Then he whispered, "Did they win?" His father didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, "No, they didn't want to win. Just wanted us to remember what we did, the far corners of the galaxy." The last message from Earth was received. A simple signal. No voice, no face, just 7 words. "We are done. You are warned. Goodbye." And just like that, the Reclaimer fleet disappeared. No one knew where they went. Some say they returned to deep space. Others say they're still watching, waiting in case someone forgets again. Back in Sol System. The humans didn't celebrate. They didn't hold parades. They simply continued their work, built more farms, taught. Their children watched the stars, because for them, the war was never about glory. It was about memory, and memory had now been written. In fire, 3 months passed. No one had seen a human ship since the last message. The Reclaimer fleet had vanished. The skies were quiet, but the galaxy was not the same. The old council was gone. Some of its buildings still stood, but its power had crumbled like dust. Many species had left it behind. They no longer trusted the ones who had once called themselves leaders, because now the memory of Earth was everywhere. On the once proud council capital, ruins were still smoking, but something new had begun. A circle of leaders from surviving species met in silence. No long speeches, no pride, no shouting, just quiet understanding. They stood around an empty chair, not for a king, not for a hero, but for a human ambassador. Lee Tyrone, the man who came offering peace. They left the seat. Empty forever. It was not just respect, it was a reminder. One of the new leaders, Elder Sorai of the Evlari, stood and spoke. "We built this galaxy on power and pride," he said. "Earth built its legacy on patience. And when we broke peace, they didn't invade. They remembered." He looked around. "Now we must do the same." No one disagreed. On distant worlds, things began to change. Monuments were built, not of victory, but of warning. One statue on the moon of Virel showed a single human hand reaching out a poem. Peaceful. Behind it stood a shadow. The plaque read, "They offered peace. We offered blood. Stars will remember who fired first." Children were taught the history of the Reclaimer fleet, not as monsters, but as reminders of how close arrogance came to destroying the galaxy. The Zorek species, once proud and cruel, stripped chairwoman Viral of her title. She now lived in silence, her power gone. Each day, she passed the same message carved into her city's wall. You cannot erase peace, but peace can erase you. On a quiet trade world, a human ship finally appeared again. Not black, not silent. Just a normal trade vessel. It docked slowly, cautiously. No one dared to fire. Instead, the alien port captain walked out alone, unarmed, and bowed low. "Welcome," he said. The human captain simply nodded and replied, "We're here for grain. Nothing more. No war. No speech. Just trade. Just life. The way it should have been, in Earth's orbit." Deep in the Sol System, the Reclaimer fleet slept. Its ships were hidden now. Quiet in the void. Not forgotten, only waiting. Inside the Reclaimer command, Admiral Sato stood by a wide window, looking at the stars. Her second-in-command joined her. "They've stopped fighting," he said. She nodded. "Good. Should we dismantle the fleet?" She didn't answer at first, then quietly, "No. Let it sleep. Let them know it's still here." He asked, "Do you think they'll try again?" It turned, if they forget what they did. Maybe. She paused. But now, the galaxy remembers. Back on Earth, in a simple garden filled with white flowers, there was a stone marker. No name. Just one sentence. He came in peace. Children visited it on school trips. Teachers told them about Torin, the man who believed the galaxy could be better, and how Earth's answer wasn't rage, but consequence. Over time, the galaxy changed. New councils formed, but none dared rule with fear. All major treaties now included a single phrase, written in dozens of languages: Earth watches. Earth remembers. It wasn't a threat, it was a truth. Because humans had shown the stars something they never forgot. The loudest power is not noise, it is silence, and the will to hold it till it's broken. Years later, an alien child asked their elder, "Why do we fear Earth?" The elder smiled softly and said, "We don't fear them, child. We remember them." The child tilted their head. "Remember what?" The elder's voice grew quiet. "What happens